This video is brought to you by dankritual.com. If you use the promo code DREW10 at checkout, you can get 10% off of your order of the tan or green 2-player cloth playmats. Get your playmat today. My promo code DREW10 also gives you 10% off of a pink or blue yokai deck box to keep your deck safe. So go ahead and grab one of those while you're getting your playmats too. What is up, everybody? It is Drew, Traveler of the Burning Abyss here, and as you can see on the screen, we don't have a Burning Abyss list for you today. I've posted so many Burning Abyss videos as of late that I needed to take a slight break from posting BA lists. I've been doing a lot with the deck, and I need to put it down for a couple weeks, toss some different content on the channel, keep everything fresh, and give you guys some more decks that you can play this format. Whether you're a budget player or you're a competitive player, you can obviously make modifications to any deck list that I post. Anything is possible. But as you can see today, we're looking at heroes. It's pure heroes. Eventually, within the next week or two, I will have a Despia hero or branded hero, whatever you want to call it. I'll have a profile for that up on the channel within the next week or two, I think. But for right now, we're going with just straight up heroes, which I think is really cool, really fun deck to play. So before we jump into the video, make sure you guys go ahead and smash that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload cool and awesome content like the video you're watching right now. And yeah, if you want to leave that thumbs up to help my analytics out, that's significantly appreciated. But let's go ahead and dive into this week's deck profile. So the primary reason that I decided to show off heroes this week is because I really wanted to go ahead and play something different that I haven't really profiled on the channel, and heroes definitely fit that criteria. I don't think I've ever put a hero profile up on my channel ever, and I felt that it was something that would be nice, something that I could at least show as something different that, you know, maybe people haven't seen me use before. I've taught people how to play this deck, you know, but I've never really profiled anything with it, and I had to pick up stuff because I hadn't had everything for the deck in a while, because when all those price spikes happened, I dumped most of the deck to make my profit off of it, and now I got everything back because Ghosts from the Past 2 just made stuff so much cheaper. But we're going to take a look at the main deck. Starting off with the Vision Heroes, we have 3 Ferris, 2 Increase, and 2 Vion. So the essential idea is that you're going to get your Ferris to discard a card special itself, put Increase from your deck in your spell and trap zone. Increase will tribute the Ferris to summon itself from the spell and trap zone, and then it'll trigger its effect to special Vion. Vion will dump one of your hero cards from deck to grave, and then you'll be able to start your combos from there. Vion can also banish a hero from grave to search for a poly, which is actually pretty darn important. So I think these are really good ratios. The Increase you really don't want to see in your opening hand, but you have to play 2 in case you do draw one of them. Like you want to be able to resolve Ferris. So yeah, playing the 2 Increase is kind of a painful thing that you have to do, but it is required. Moving on to the other hero cards, I play 2 copies of Stratos, 1 copy of Liquid Soldier, 1 copy of Shadow Mist, and 1 copy of Honest Neos for the elemental hero cards. So I don't think 3 Stratos is necessary. It's perfectly fine at 2. Like you're not gonna sit there and be like, oh my god, I need a 3rd. Trust me, like the 2 Stratos works perfectly fine. And all of my test stands have had 0 issues with consistency. This is extremely consistent once you start playing it. So usually most of the time, like, Stratos isn't even needed for most of your combos, which is even better. So that's kind of the cool part. Liquid Soldier, this card is the most expensive card in the main deck as far as monsters go. If you're just playing, you know, heroes, if you're just contemplating the monsters, you know, because there are other cards in here that are expensive, but we'll get to those when we get to them. But Liquid Soldier is really good because it gives you access to a bunch of different cards in your extra deck, such as, you know, your Master Hero Acid and your Absolute Zero, which is obviously important to note. Additionally, on top of that, you can get the effect when it's summoned to revive a hero from grave, or when it's used as a fusion material, you essentially get to draw 2 cards and discard a card, so that's actually pretty good too. So yeah, it's just a really good card overall. Shadow Mist. So I see a lot of people that play 2, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's necessary. This is a going second build. Like, I'm trying to OTK my opponent with this build, and I don't think that multiple Shadow Mist is necessary. I don't need cards on the follow-up, because I'm just going to go ahead and blow my opponent's board out and then kill him in one shot. So I think that one Shadow Mist is perfectly fine. The Honest Neo, seeing we are trying to OTK, this card is pretty darn sweet, so gotta play the 1. Then we play 1 Evil Hero. We just play the Adusted Gold because it helps you extend further, and Malicious Bane is a really good card. So yeah, this card's really good to search your spell, your Dark Calling. That way you can go ahead and fusion summon. So yeah, pretty good card. On to the D Heroes. Play 2 Mally, 1 Plasma, and 1 Denier. That's the entire D Hero lineup. I'm not playing like Celestial or Dasher because in this deck they really don't do much. If you want to play Celestial, go for it, but it's not necessary. I saw a list, actually. I saw a branded hero list, and the guy was playing Destiny Hero Dogma, which was kind of interesting because like he just have his opponent's life points. Like that was just it was comical. It was just really funny. Which like that, moving forward into like the the Despiar branded version of heroes, I would contemplate playing that, but I don't know, it's kind of a tricky interaction. But Denier, this card is actually insane. It basically makes it so your Mally is going to resolve as if you were playing 3 copies of Mally, which is nice. With that being said, I think that Mally going to 3 honestly wouldn't be that bad. Everyone gets mad about it, but it like I laugh. People get so frustrated over this card. Like this card can be at 3. Like really, you're really scared of heroes. Like the 3rd Mally is really gonna make your hero matchup that difficult. That to me is just comical. Like this deck is not like a tier 1 deck. It's just a good card. Yes, Mally can be used in a bunch of other decks, but it's not going to be detrimental to the meta. But then the Plasma is obviously a really good card. I think I have a Speed Duel Secret. I don't know why I have a super in here, but card's really good. It's just a fantastic card, being able to shut off your opponent's board and steal a monster. Like that's just insane. Yeah, super strong. But yeah, this is overall a really good Destiny Hero lineup. You don't need more than that. Last monster that we play in the main deck, though, is 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's the only hand trap because we are playing cards that are more based on board breaking, seeing we're trying to OTK. So the 3 Ash is fine. It's just a generic card to out your opponent's board. Moving on to the spells, though, you're going to see the board breakers first. So we have 3 copies of Lightning Storm, 3 copies of Droplet, and 2 copies of Chalice. So I'm essentially trying to make it so my opponent cannot, like, do anything. Like, if you open up with a decent start with your hero stuff, and you open up to, like, Droplet Lightning Storm, you basically just win the game. You go Lightning Storm their monsters, and they try to negate it, and you just Droplet, and yeah, then you're able to just OTK your opponent, which is pretty sweet. And a lot of the stuff that's being played nowadays, it does get hit really hard by Droplet, so playing it is obviously a good thing to do. Also, there are a good amount of, like, break my board, like negate everything kind of boards. So playing the Droplet just assists you a lot because it lowers your opponent's monster's attack, which is, pretty handy. So keep in mind that it's pretty darn good being able to negate and have their attacks. Then the Chalice is just another negation. Also, Lightning Storm isn't just for like monsters you could hit back row, but I figured that was kind of inferred with the whole board breaking aspect. So yeah, so essentially these and the Ash are my going second cards. So we're playing 11 going second cards, which is actually really good. Moving on to the hero-based spells, we have 2 Fusion Destiny because it's limited to 2 Mask Change, and 2 Hero Lives. These are the 2 ofs. I'm sure that the Hero Lives will soon to be a 3 of, and the Fusion Destiny will soon to be a 1 of. That's just kind of what I'm leaning towards so far. But then again, who knows? They might just ban the Verte and leave the Fusion Destiny alone. That is a possibility. But I feel like I don't have to talk too much about either of these because they are just self-explanatory. As far as the Mask Change goes, I think that the card is really good, but I think 3 is too much. Like, if I was playing a going first version, I'd say, yeah, sure, like, I could probably play 3 Mask Change, but considering I'm going second, my main priority is not to use Mask Change unless it's, to go absolute 0 into an Acid to completely clear my opponent's board. or to just go ahead and set up one more attack for an OTK. It's not like the card that you need to get your combo started, or it's not always the card you need to finish the game. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but I think 2 is perfectly acceptable. Moving on to all the 1-ofs that we play. Play 1 copy of Miracle Fusion, 1 copy of Poly, 1 copy of Dark Calling, 1 E-Qual, 1 Rhoda, and let me just sandwich these together a little bit, and 1 Called By. So these are all the 1-ofs that we're playing. So the Miracle Fusion and the Poly and the Dark Calling, all of these are searchable. You don't need to play more than 1 of each. Like in the Poly, you can usually just reset off of one of your extra deck monsters, which is your Wonder Driver. So like you don't really have to worry too much about most of that. Like it's not really a big deal. So yeah, all 3 of these are searchable. This off of your Vion, this off of your Sunrise, and this off of your Dusted Gold. So you don't have to worry too much about playing multiples of these. As far as the E-Call goes, you're not playing like an excessively large amount of E-Heroes. You're playing 5, which like isn't bad. Like it's not like back in the day where you had to play 3. Like you can just play 1 and it's perfectly fine. Rhoda is limited to 1, but it's another E-Call, which is pretty nice. And then a Called By, in case your opponent tries to hand trap you, or you have to get rid of something pesky in the graveyard, you do have the Called By to do so. So I think that that's a more than viable enough reason to be playing that 1 copy of Called By. But that is the main deck. I'm going to go ahead and hop on over to the extra deck now and kind of go over everything that we're running. All right, so extra deck. We'll go over the Masked Heroes first. We have 2 Darklaw, 1 Blast, and 1 Acid. These are the 4 Masked Heroes we're playing. So obviously the Darklaw, we do have a good amount of Darks, so that's going to be a big help for the Dark lineup of monsters. As far as the Blast, basically it helps with your Stratos. If you try and use the effect and your opponent tries to like Valor or Impermit, you can just mass change it away, summon the Blast, and still resolve your Stratos, which is pretty darn strong. So yeah, that's kind of important. And the Acid I already mentioned, you just tribute your Absolute Zero and you wipe all monsters and all spells and traps your opponent controls. So those are the Masked Heroes. As far as the regular Elemental Heroes go, I'm just playing 1 Sunrise and 1 Absolute Zero. I thought about playing the dark one. I think it's a Skirdo or a Squeedo, something like that. I just didn't have the room for it for like the way I'm playing the deck, so I opted to just stick with these 2, and it's perfectly fine. I've had 0 issues so far. Then we have, for the other random hero cards, we have a Trinity and we have a Malicious Bane. The Trinity is really good for OTKs, and the Malicious Bane is just a Raigeki. Like that's, you know, pretty self-explanatory. If you can get a Raigeki in on your opponent, that's actually very powerful. And, you know, this being able to swing at all of your opponent's monsters and having a double attack, well, I say all of your opponent's monsters, it's 3 times, but, you know, if you can swing at your opponent's monsters 3 times with a 5,000 attack point monster, you're probably going to win the game. Like, that's just pretty insane. But yeah, I think that these are the 2 cards that are kind of like your game closers almost. Like you drop these on the board and like your opponent just knows they're in trouble. So yeah, really strong cards. As far as the Destiny Hero Fusion goes, I apologize in advance. We are playing the 1 Dark Phoenix Enforcer. That's not what I'm apologizing for. My apologies are for the fact that my copies of Dangerous and Dystopia are commons. I forgot to get holo versions, and my locals definitely had them. I was like, oh, I think I have some at home, and I did, but they were commons from the legendary decks, I think. So yeah, but essentially the DP is really powerful in this deck, even if Fusion Destiny goes to 1, because you can just hard make it in a lot of scenarios. So like DP is nuts in regular heroes. Even if Fusion Destiny goes to 1, like this deck still is going to be playing it like nobody's business. The Dangerous is really good because of the boost that it gets. Like it's just a generic card, and it's pretty easy to make. So like that's, you know, important. And the Dystopia is good for burn damage, and you know, it's got another stat change effect, which doesn't come up all the time, but it can because of Dread Decimator boosting stats. So yeah, that's kind of important. But yeah, those are the D heroes that we play. And that's it for the fusion lineup. Moving on to the links, though, we do have our 2 copies of Cross Designator, the 1 Wonder Driver, and the 1 Dread Decimator. So the Cross Crusader is going to summon one of your D heroes from grave, and then you contribute one of them, and then you're going to be able to search for another hero monster. So like that's pretty darn good. You can grab an extender off that or just something else that you need. So like that's very, very powerful. The Wonder Driver is good for multiple reasons. I'm primarily just going to discuss the resetting of cards. Basically, summon a hero to zone it points to, and you're going to go ahead and have the ability to reset one of your polys or fusions from grave. So, like, you just reset your polymerization and use it another time. Like, that's obviously pretty darn sweet. And then the Dread Decimator is going to boost all of your hero monsters by 100 attack for each hero monster with a different name in your graveyard, which is actually ridiculous. Like, you can just win games off of the fact that you have a bunch of hero cards in your grave, and then on top of that it does piercing battle damage, which is also very powerful. But those are all of the cards in the extra deck. I wanted to play super poly targets so badly, but I honestly couldn't find the room to do super poly targets. Obviously, with a possible looming ban list coming up hopefully soon, things could change, and we'll see some sort of large meta shift. It's a possibility. Nothing is guaranteed, but who knows? Maybe they'll give us more things back to play with different decks rather than ban a bunch of stuff, which lately has kind of seemed to be the case. So, you know, free my boy Colossus. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop on over to the side deck. All right, side deck time. As you can see, we have a fantastic card on top of the side deck, and that is 2 copies of Nibiru. We're also playing a few other hand traps. We're playing 2 copies of Lancia and 2 copies of Token Collector. These cover pretty much most of the meta and, you know, kind of help you solve certain matchups in a significantly easier way. If you can drop a Token Collector, that's fantastic. The only downside to dropping the Token Collector is that it shuts off your copy of A Hero Lives, but, you know, it could be far worse. If you have other extenders, you pretty much just win the game from there against things like Sword Soul. As far as the Lancia goes, we all know it's going to be in my side deck. Like, that's just kind of a staple in my side deck for a very long time. The Nibiru is obviously here for your opponents who are going to spam the board, but the other thing that I want to point out is that I'm also siding 3 copies of Crossout Designator. So this is going to be really good with you siding in like 1 Nibiru if you think your opponent's going to make you go first, or if you know they're just playing Nibiru, even when you're going second, it might not be a bad idea to side in the Crossout Designator. It's also good because you can get rid of like your Ash or something. Like anything that you think your opponent has, you can obviously get rid of, which is very important. Additionally, we play a copy of Harpy's Feather Duster and Red Reboot for more back row removal alongside the Lightning Storms. But the other thing I want to talk about is the cards that I really side in going first and how they have some synergy with Crossout Designator. So I'm going to put the crossouts up here in the corner for now. But the other cards that we play going first is Scythe and 3 Sanctum. And I know you're saying, okay, so like how does Designator have any synergy with this? So the idea is that if your opponent is playing a Scythe lock deck and you're going second and they activate a Scythe Engrave, you can have the Crossout in your deck and the Scythe in your deck going second. You wouldn't put the Sanctums in, you just put the Scythe in. And then you call Scythe, you banish your Scythe from your deck, and their Scythe is essentially rendered useless. So Crossout Designator is actually really good from that aspect too. It kind of gives you another out to the Scythe lock. That's very, very important in a lot of cases. It's not as like prevalent now. Like, yes, there is a good amount of Scythe locking going on, but it's honestly not nearly what everybody thought it was going to be. If they ban the card, then cool, whatever, that's perfectly fine. Not to mention, too, that Sanctum also can bring out your copies of Lancia if your opponent is just playing a super banish-heavy deck. So, yeah, that's actually pretty darn important. So, yeah, those are the cool side deck choices. I don't think I need to explain too much with the side deck. Most of it is pretty self-explanatory. You know, you're going first. You set up a hero board with, like, you know, you can set up like a plasma or something like that, and then if you can Scythe lock your opponent too, like that's just hilarious. On top of that, if you draw the Scythe in this deck, it's fine because you can also set up a DPE naturally if you draw the Scythe, so like that's actually pretty darn sweet. But that is basically it for the video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you know when I'm uploading more cool and awesome videos just like the one you watched. And yeah, for right now, this is Drew, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, signing out.